I had a moment today, since we're just talking, where someone sent me. I I'll take this up some.
That meeting tonight.
Yeah, I know. I saw. I tried to get out of it because I really wanted to go to a meeting today. Like I wanted to go to the BIPOC meeting.
You went last time. I'll go this time, and because Eric always gives us a.
Yeah, you know what? But here's the thing: I reached out to that person, and I felt guilted. Are we good? And I felt guilt. Well, since we're talking, and I felt guilted. Well, basically, what he was saying is like, I should show you the text.
Yeah,
he was saying, he's like, I have 5 people that are expecting me to send them their notes. Like, this is why you have alternates, etc. And I was like, oh God, he's upset because I know he doesn't like it when people don't do their commitments.
Okay, that's something that they get to work on.
What? I know we're live. I mean,
so back to what I think
I'm like, and another thing.
Exactly. Back to what I think is like a perfect example of equanimity. So I made the list, and so I did all of the work leading up to, because they have a lot of different things that they want you to, like financial requirements, other things, and I thought that I felt right in with this. I get to the last round paperwork and turned everything in on time, and they sent me a letter and an email that said, I make too much money, I don't qualify.
Get the fuck out of here.
And so I didn't get upset because I was already at that place. It happened around the time where I was ready to move out. There was a window where I was already looking for places or whatever. And so I just scrapped it and saw it as, you know what, I'm grateful that my name finally came up, and I'm also super grateful that I don't need it.
Yeah.
So that was like I was able to kind of look at it in a way like, so it came up, it didn't work out for me, but guess what? It's like this was my goal, to get to a place where I didn't need it, and I got there.
Yeah, I mean, there is a silver lining there for sure. Because as I'm listening to you, it's like, oh, you were disqualified because you made too much money, which is,
and that's a really cool reason not to get it.
Yeah, that is a cool reason not to get it. I said I had the reaction I did because that feels like a major letdown, but also just living in San Francisco, like the idea. Excuse me. The idea of making too much money in San Francisco seems almost crazy, since like the average income here, I think, is 6 figures.
And
if
too
you're
much money could be a couple $100 over, which I'm not saying that's what it was, but that's what it was.
Yeah, no,
it's like,
for sure.
Seriously, it's like, but you know what? This is off the topic, but I'm talking about it since we.
Let's hear it.
Got it on there. I found out later this amazing building that I was going to move into, they had problems with flooding with plumbing.
Oh, no way.
I'm not a hater, but I'm a hater.
That reminds me, there was, maybe this is on topic. That reminds me, years ago, I had interviewed for this placement with an assessment clinic, and it was the craziest interview I ever had. So in this interview, I'm sitting there, it's this white woman, and this is relevant in a second. So I'm sitting there, and we're like, so it's for a clinical assessment job, and she says to me, Anthony, we're having regular conversations about interview, and she goes, Anthony, as a black man, how do you feel about clinical assessments? And I didn't correct her because number one is like, I don't know that you can say that in interviews, number one, but then number two, I was thinking to myself, like, I want this job and I don't want to embarrass her. So like, what do I do? So I just kind of like keep it rolling, and I was like feeling really uncomfortable. And then at some point she swivels in her chair and she points to a picture of this like young black girl that's sitting on her desk. And she goes, do you know who this is? And I'm thinking to myself, ma'am, I don't even know who you are. But I'm like, okay, already I'm thinking like this person is like not well. And she points to this picture. I was like, no, I don't know who that is. And she goes, that's my daughter.
Oh my God.
And I think to myself, oh my God, you are like you're showcasing your daughter now because you think I'm a black man. And so I didn't correct her. Anyway, so fast forward. I very long story short, the school helped me get out of this situation because it was just not good. Few years later, she's caught on camera claiming to be a lawyer and yelling racist shit to this like Mexican family, caught on camera.
Oh my God.
It like makes the news and all this other stuff. She has to step down. I'm trying not to give too much information, but she has to step down from like this position she had. And I remember like I just remember looking back at that situation, like all of it, and thinking like, oh wow, like look at the way like life unfolds when you aren't trying to like fight with it. You know what I mean? Because I could have like easily like, I don't know. I did feel really kind of like, I was like, oh my God, this is gonna hurt me professionally. And in the end, it turned out she was fucking bonkers.
Loved it, because the whole time when you talked about that, not correcting her about being a black man, that would have been like the premise for a really funny sitcom. Anthony, he's kind of black, but not.
Blackish.
Blackish, exactly.
Yeah. That's so funny, which is also interesting because like like as a Puerto Rican, like Puerto Rican, especially like those of us who are not of fair complexion. Anyway, there's because there's like Afro-Caribbean and all of that. But we digress.
Yeah, we have.
We have digressed.
You know what? It's okay.
It is okay.
The tracks are off. The train is off the track, and we're gonna get back there at some point.
I think it's something in the air.
But you know, exactly. You know, I was thinking about like too this idea of equanimity. It really ties in very nicely to living life on life terms.
Mm.
You know, because life is constantly going to show up, and I think the one thing we learn is that, you know what, life's not happening at us; it just is happening, and we get to decide how we're going to respond to it. Like, you don't have, like, suffering is optional, as they say. I can think about what's happened today with our sounds and think, woe is me, it's like this is not working out, or that this is just what it is.
Yeah.
And let's make it happen.
Yeah. I feel like well, you got us back on track real fast.
Yeah.
That was really good. So I recently joined this online community. It's a paid online community that's for people with like an anxious attachment style. So people who have like relational anxiety. We've talked about that in previous episodes. And so I joined this online community because it has this 3-month course on how to develop like a secure attachment. And I love this online community. I love the coursework. I love all of it. And there are these forums where they have like a venting forum. They have like a forum where you can talk about breakups, where you can talk about relationships. And so I've been doing this work for a while, as you know, like in therapy and in SLA. And so I've jumped in and I went into one of these forums and I was like reading what people are grappling with. And there was this one person who was repeatedly posting every day, and it was always the same post. I remember thinking to myself, like, oh wow, like there is a way, and they teach this in one of their courses. There is a way that like we can. So have you ever heard of like the idea of like clean pain, dirty pain?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like this way that we can make our suffering worse by like adding. So like to explain what clean pain and dirty pain is. So for example, if I have a friend who passes away, it is natural to grieve the passing of my friend, right? That would be like the clean pain. The dirty pain would be when I start blaming myself and saying like, oh, you know what? Like I could have prevented that person's death. If only I could have done this. And this person's death means this for me. It means that I'm a horrible, like that's the dirty pain, right? And I feel like that's the part where we say like that level of suffering is optional. Like we don't have to make things worse. And you know, that is I guess, you know, really what we're talking about are like our ways of achieving equanimity or like getting back to balance.
You know, what's really interesting.
What?
I have to say this. So I was really annoyed at the beginning of this when you came in.
I know you were.
I was done.
I know you
I
were.
was done. And in a very short second, I'm already back in love with you. I love you.
I love that. Yeah, I know you were angry and I was okay with that.
No, I wasn't angry. I'm a Virgo. You're a Virgo.
So
it's like
I
was just like, I like things to be a certain
I
way,
understand.
and they're never going to be a certain way. And it's interesting. We talk about this. It's like, as much as I would like things to be that way, and when they're not, you know, if I'm perfectly practicing this idea of equanimity, I'm just like, you know what, life is, you showed up.
Yeah.
That's the win. And we're going to take.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you being honest about that. I had that. I got that sense from you. I've known you long enough to know when you're.
I can't exactly do silent scorn.
Well, you know
on
what what I
podcast.
kept thinking about was like, I wonder how this is going to translate on air because we're going to start rolling in a couple seconds and we're going to be on a mic. And like,
Well, you know what?
you start throwing shit.
Thank God for the. I think that this is higher power.
Why is
Thank the because it having to take that time to kind of make sure that the sound was correct. It gave me enough time to get over my cheap self.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Your cheap self.
Yeah.
You know, the other day, speaking of equanimity, you know what? Some people are just nasty, and I'll tell you what. This is not following you. I'm thinking. So the other day,
I was like, I'm listening. Go ahead. Go on.
So I was at this party for one of our mutual friends who just celebrated a year.
Okay.
And very long story short, my partner and I gave this person a ride home.
Hey.
And on our way,
I'm sorry.
and on our way to the car, this person was like joking with me, but like their jokes weren't funny and they were at my expense and they were actually like, they were mean spirited. And this person, this is kind of just how he is with people. But like, I never understood that. Like, I never understood like meanness as a personality trait or like as a personality. So for example, when we were at the party there was this one person. So the birthday person was eating a piece of cake.
Uh-huh.
And one of the friends who were there said to him, girl, I thought you were trying to like shrink your waist while he was eating his cake. And I thought to myself, like, why is it okay to say stuff like that? Like, bro, like obviously he knows he's going to eat a cake. Like you don't have to shame him for eating a cake. You know what I mean? It just felt it felt very toxic. It felt very like, what the fuck? But that to me, there is a way that like that kind of like that there's a way that like that kind of thing is like normalized. And maybe again, I'm a bad gay for maybe having issues with that.
You're not a bad gay. I think what happens is it's like
as I flick my wrist.
But there's so many things that you might want to pay attention to that interaction.
Tell me.
Like the relationship between the two people.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know one of those individuals is a drag queen, and if the other individual is a drag queen as well, that's kind of that playful banter. The problem that I see with that sometimes, and this is what I've learned, like if you can set a boundary, but you have to live it yourself. Like if I don't want other people who I don't fuck with to participate, then I don't do it around them.
Right.
So I think that's where maybe the struggle has been.
Yeah.
And so I understand it because if you and I are just together,
I was just gonna say like with you and I have like a long-standing history, and so that's okay between us because like it's just okay. Like you earned that kind of playfulness with someone.
I would never say anything about your waist. What I would do is say something about your butt when you're over because a few times, I mean, if you see me on the street, ask me for pictures. I've got
so that's very flattering. Thank you. So I'm not sure how to transition from that. I'm trying to go back to equanimity.
That's fine. We may be having another conversation. Actually,
look at we went from our sound being bad to like now we're like all delayed and pixelated. This is the fucking day, man. This is
just us on here.
This is just us.
If you're watching and are we pixelated right now?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay.
Not about not equanimity about. Oh, so the person. So that was a different conversation. That was about drag. The wasting was the drag queens. Although even there, I think there is something about like the kind of toxicity in the way that like. Okay, this is where I'm at with all of this.
Uh-huh.
I take issue with a couple of things that have been normalized, I think, in like queer culture. One of those things is like the idea of being shady to each other and like not. So, for example, one of the things I wish that I could see, which I live, to your point, like I live this, is for queer people to be more encouraging and uplifting of each other.
Can I ask you maybe to qualify? Because when you say in queer community, that seems like in total and whatever. And I think the reality is that it is normalized in certain spheres, certain areas of the queer community, because there are others that don't participate in that. They don't do that. They do exactly what you're talking about, lifting up. So maybe in certain areas, like in the drags community, and you know, yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So this is interesting that you should say this, because I need to find this. But one of the things that is alarming to me is, for example, if you think about artists like Adam Lambert. So Adam Lambert is a gay man.
Yeah.
And the majority of his fans are not gay men. In fact, it's found that a lot of queer artists are under-supported by queer people in general. That's just one example. I have to find the article.
No, I understand.
And I also hear your point about like, there are like silos of the queer community where that's true. And so I'll give you that, because that's true. It can't be universal. I will say this much, that there is a way that what I'm talking about has been normalized and has been okay, right? Okayed. And I think the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I just think about how hard it must be for some people, myself included, to feel kind of, I don't know if like safe is the word that I'm like looking for, but to feel okay in community.
Absolutely.
You know, when there is this kind of like this like tension or whatever, you know, and I don't think it stops there either. Like, one of the things I shared at a meeting recently is that I get very anxious when I'm in groups of gay men. You know, there's a part of me that's like, but that, you know, again, this might just be my own stuff where I start to feel like, am I being judged? Like, am I, you know, which is probably my own social anxiety.
I feel like a lot of us, like in recovery specifically, because the relationship or the roles or however we showed up when we were around like large numbers of gay men, we are not doing that. Whether, you know, if PMP was your thing, or if you're partying, playing, or hooking up like that culture, and you're not doing that, or even going to the bars, it's like now you've got to deal with people where, you know, the mask, the kind of the social lubricant, all those protectors are off, and so it's going to be a little anxiety kind of riddled.
Yeah, you know, one of the things I appreciate about this community that I joined, I probably could just say what it is. The online community is called
NAMBLA. I'm sorry.
Wait, what is that?
National Alliance of Man Boy Love. Or
oh my God! No.
I don't know.
Oh my God. Oh my God. You know, if I ever run to office, watch this be the thing that's showed up. But it's called, the online community is called Love Addicts. And it's like Love Addicts. Let me see if I can pull it. Yeah, loveaddicts.com. And
was this recommended to you, or you just found it on
I found it because I was like, I need to figure this out for myself. I was looking at like how to develop secure attachment. And that's how I found it. But one of the things I like is that the founder, this guy's name is Noor, the founder of the community, he says this thing. He's quoting someone else, but I'm quoting him in this case. He said, it's something along the lines of like it is much easier to adapt to your surroundings than it is for you to change your surroundings. So, but basically what he was talking about, and I hope I'm saying that correctly, is that if, for example, and this is about what you were saying, you're like, so if, for example, I feel uncomfortable in certain settings, rather than trying to like change myself all the time to meet my surroundings, maybe what I need to do is like change my surroundings, right? So, for example, I see that comment. So, for example, if there's certain people that I'm cordial to and I say hi to in the program, but I just wouldn't fuck with.
Yeah.
And the reason why I wouldn't fuck with them is because their lifestyle and like the way they interact with each other, like that just doesn't work for me. It makes me uncomfortable. So rather than that, like I could look at that in one of two ways. I could think to myself, oh, I could try to force myself to be okay with like these people, Or I could just surround myself with people that like are uplifting and feel good. You know what I mean?
Already possess the qualities that you want.
Yeah,
or
that
think are
have
important.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so I think that's, I feel like when we're talking about like ways of achieving equanimity, sometimes it's about like changing your environment.
Absolutely.
We
have a comment.
We do have a comment. Jalen writes,
No, he's not wrong. The majority of the queer community have a normalized reading and shady. It's all based out of insecurity. Even as a queen myself, I've harnessed the ability to read and be shady, but that doesn't mean I like it, especially when it's being done unnecessarily and frivolously. If I don't know you and you think it's cute to read and or be shady, you might get read for being too comfortable.
oh,
So
thank you, Jalen.
I like that you start talking about like one of the ways to achieve this equanimity or whatever, to start making changes, just changing your environment. They have that poem like not everybody can be in your front row, or not everybody has a place in your front row. And it says specifically is like, I don't need to change you. I just need to change who I'm around. And I'm going to double down on the idea because as a black man, I do not like the idea. Yeah, I do not like the idea of being lumped in with other people. I think that there's so many different versions of us, of gay and how we are, that it's never just a black and white, like you're either this or you're either that.
Yeah.
Like I think that the question I was going to ask you, and this is going back to the car ride or to the person you were giving the ride, did you say something?
Yeah.
You said,
yeah.
So because as long as you said something, that's the beginning of the change. Because like whether or not it's normalized or not, like you said, it's like it's easy. Sometimes it's easy just to adapt and put up with it or whatever, and that's what sends your ass to Al-Anon.
Yeah.
Or you can say, look, I don't like that. That's not. I'm not okay with that. And if you are okay with that, and you're not willing to appreciate that I'm not okay with that, then the onus is mine. To step away. And I've done that a number of times. This is one of the challenges. I talked about it ad nauseum, like for a while, like with a really close friend, like where we had a falling out, and we had to change how we showed up for one another because I was thinking to myself, most of my relationships are really almost effortless. We love each other. We lift each other up. There's not, we have moments, because you should have moments where they're challenging, but we work through that. And this one was not, it was draining. It was taking some from me. And I had to ask myself, why? What is that? What am I getting from this? I'm not getting, and we did some work and we're good now. I love this person.
Yeah.
But I had to decide, do I love this person enough to do the work to get past all of this?
Yeah. Sometimes I think about, sometimes the way I think about like mental health or the human experience is that, we're all kind of like choreographing this dance, right? And like our feelings are like the symphony, right? That's like the music that we're hearing all the time, and like and that music determines how we move our bodies and how we like operate. And sometimes I think about like, well, if I don't like the way I'm moving in the world, I have to change the music I'm listening to, to kind of I guess put a flowery emphasis on like what we're talking about right now. And I also want to put a circle around like what you were saying about not making kind of like broad sweeping generalizations about entire communities. I think I needed to hear that because I think really what I'm describing has been, I mean, one is just like logically you can't make broad sweeping generalizations about an entire community because, there's so many of us. I think maybe what I'm describing has been like my experience as a gay man living in San Francisco in certain communities. Many people that I've been interacting with being like addicts and alcoholics, and like one of the things I remind myself when dealing with other addicts and alcoholics is that, like many of us are pretty sensitive and many of us like have a short fuse, and you know what I mean? Like some days are better than others between us. And that's one of the reasons why we say, we're not like, luckily we're not all sick on the same day, and that's like something I have to remember. Like one of the things I've had to do recently has been like to know when it is that I need time. I don't know. So I think we have 5 minutes left.
Yeah, we have 5 minutes.
Yeah, all right. It was either 5 minutes or he just wanted to say hi to us again.
Yeah, exactly.
Just waved his hand. So with 5 minutes left, we should probably start winding down.
Just waiting for Brandon.
Well, one is I want to have another discussion, another equanimity discussion.
Yeah, I think it would be healthy.
Yeah, there's a person that I want to bring on. I'm in the process of speaking with her. I won't say her name just yet, but I absolutely, she's a professor I studied with in grad school, and she's amazing. She's a woman of color. She's brilliant, and I'm just trying to see when she's free.
I'm just curious to see what we're going to title this episode, because it was kind of equanimity.
It was kind of, I mean, it was equanimity. It was living life on life's terms.
Yeah,